So I believe I said this to you the other day, but this quiz number 4 will be given after homework day 21, after we have a chance to go over that and stuff. And that'll be a homework quiz. So that means, you'll get to use your notes and your homework for that. So that should be a grade booster. And then we'll finish this up, and then we'll have the test when we finish up homework day 24. So, that'll be a while down the road. Obviously not this week, but just to kind of let you know. Okay, so we're going to talk about factoring. And we've been doing factoring, so this is going to be review, hopefully. It says on here, and I don't know if this is technically my number 1 rule, but it makes it a lot easier. If when you're factoring, before you do anything else, you order them from greatest to least degree. And what that means is the little numbers, the exponents. So if you'll put them in order from the biggest one to the smallest one, it tends to make it a little bit easier because that's the way all the rules are set up, and it makes it easier to identify which one's which. Number 1, you've heard it called factoring out the greatest common factor. Another way of saying it is to undistribute, because we know to distribute, like if you had 4 times x plus 2, and we distributed, that's 4x plus 8. Well, if I factor out a 4, I'm doing the opposite of what I just did. So that's where they're getting undistribute. And I would divide by that 4. So that's what's going on there. That's what, after you put them in order from least to greatest, your first step then is to greatest common factor, or to undistribute. And if that leading coefficient, does anybody know what that means? Yeah, if the number in front is negative, then factor out a negative. That's what it says. Okay, and then number 2, if it's a binomial, what does bi mean? I gotta be careful. If you have bilateral, what does that mean? Or bicycle? 2, thank you. I know I can get your heads from elsewhere. Okay, yes, it means 2. So if we have bilateral, it means that we can be split in half into 2 equal parts. Bicycle means that it has 2 wheels. So binomial means that it has 2 monomials. So it just means that you're adding and subtracting 2 things. All right, if we have a binomial, then we need to check to see if it's a difference of 2 perfect squares. So you'll have the first number, perfect square, second number, a perfect square. And if you take the square root of both of those numbers, you get a plus b and a minus b. Now, it doesn't matter which one of those comes first. You can do a minus b and then a plus b. Doesn't matter, as long as you have them. All right. So, for this first one, it's in order. Greatest exponent to the smallest exponent. Great. Then we undistribute. So, what's the greatest common factor? What's a number that'll go into both of those? 2. And then for the variables, x. They both have an x in common. You take the one that has the smallest exponent. So that just means we divide by 2x. So Justin, if we divide both of those by 2x, what are we left with? X squared minus 16. Then we look at that and we see it's a binomial. Now, is it a perfect square? Yes, both of those I can take the square root of. What's the square root of x squared? X. What's the square root of 16? 4, yeah. So, 1 is a perfect square, because square root of 1 is 1. 4 is a perfect square, because square root of 4 is 2. 9 is a perfect square, because square root of 9 is 3, and so on. So x plus 4, and then x minus 4. Nothing else we can do with that. So we're done. So for the next one, it's not in the order that we would prefer. So let's put negative 3x cubed first, and then positive 12x, so that we are in order from greatest to least exponent. Degree is what that is. Jose, what do I factor out? Very good. Negative 3x, because 3 will go into both of them, and we said if that first number, the leading coefficient, was negative, then we factor out a negative, and then they both have an x in common. Isella, when we divide by negative 3x, what are we left with?
X squared plus 4 plus 4.
Okay, is it plus? Careful.
No, it's minus because you take out the
Negative. Good. X squared minus 4. Jenna, is that a difference of 2 squares?
Yes.
Yeah, so what will that factor into?
X plus 2 and x minus 2.
Yeah. Would it be okay if I put x minus 2 and x plus 2? Yeah, that's perfectly fine. There's nothing that says it has to be in that order. Okay, y'all try the last one. I'm going to come around and look at it. I would love to come around and look at yours at home, but I can't. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, you're doing it. Yep. You're right. You should have looked for it. Yep. Now, is it square root? This one is not a difference of 2 squares because it's plus. So you can't do that. But this one you can. Okay, that was some good work. What's a number I can factor out, Tyler?
2.
2. So that leaves me with x to the 4th minus 16. Now what, Jose? What will x to the 4th minus 16? That's something. Yeah, so it factors into what?
X squared plus 4.
Yep.
X squared minus 4.
Good. Now what, Cameron?
And then since the x squared minus 4 is a difference of squares, you can do 2x squared plus 4, and then x minus 2, x plus 2.
Good. And that's it. Notice we did not take the x squared plus 4 and factor it down because it is not a difference of 2 squares. It's a sum of 2 squares. And we don't have a